on WCIA 3 Plus. With your host, Stu Ellis. This is From the Farm.
Hello again. We welcome you to another edition of From the Farm, and of course, something very, very different every time. And this one is interesting. It's fascinating. It could solve a lot of farmers' problems. It could solve a lot of issues for folks who are looking to get into agriculture. We are honored to be joined by Blake Noland, and Blake is known in some quarters as Bird Dog Careers. I've known Blake for 20 years, maybe. I don't know. But the last time I saw him was in his dad's machine shed, and he was thinking about teaching somebody how to operate a power drill. And from there, he has come a long way. We want to find out what all has happened in that time and all the folks that have benefited from him wanting to teach somebody how to run a power drill. And so, Blake, tell us what Bird Dog Careers is all about.
Yes, Stu, thanks for having me. Long-time viewer, first-time contributor, big fan of you. Bird Dog kind of started out of a necessity that we had on farm, where we were needing individuals that were interested in getting into the ag side of things. I had previously worked for Dow Chemical through their Feaster Seeds brand for about 6 years, recruiting college kids into selling seed, and had the opportunity to go out on my own. So I thought no better than to serve the market that I love best, which is agriculture. So since 2018, I've been working with 18 to call it 26-year-olds, helping them find how to get into agriculture jobs. And then it kind of spun out to all skilled trades that support agriculture and some outside of agriculture.
So this is your effort to help people, which is fabulous, and you've made really a business out of it. And tell us what the business structure is, how it works, and what the business is all about.
Yeah, so I didn't realize, frankly, it maybe shows how naive I am, but I didn't realize there was actually a whole industry around the actual head hunting of people, and enough that I realize that people who do it don't even like that term of headhunting, but that's the best way probably to describe it. We do anything from one-off placements for maybe a management job or for a lead fabricator to building out pipelines and feeder systems for operators or interns that are interested in getting into that industry. So really twofold would be finding that person that you're looking for. Anywhere from, frankly, Colorado to Florida is our geographic footprint. And then also building out a feeder system of how to get someone exiting high school into your career path.
Colorado to Florida is pretty good geography.
Yeah. We, I guess my rule of thumb is I won't take on a job unless it's one I would do myself. So the best part about that is I've had the ability to ride to the back of a trash truck before. I've had the ability to do a cold soak on a private jet, which was my Colorado experience. There's a company that refurbishes corporate jets. So if John Deere sold their jet to Coca-Cola, they'd want a different interior, different avionics, different paint. And my job was help them find the entry-level individuals for that job. So I got to hop on a newly rebuilt plane, which was a little scary in itself. And they took it up to 53,000 feet and got to test out all the things that are supposed to function while in air. So it's not just agriculture. I guess it's all skilled trades that need people that aren't afraid to turn around.
That was That was a little taller than a tractor seat.
Yeah. little more comfortable too.
Well, I can certainly agree with that. Well, where did the name Bird Dog Careers come from?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm bird dogging people. If anybody is from a hunting background, you send the bird dog out to rustle the bushes and send out, something that might work for you. And that's kind of what I'm doing, just bird dogging careers.
So it's a fascinating backstory, and we could spend the rest of the program detailing that. But we want to get to the part where people are going to say, "Hey, what can I get involved in? What can he do for me?" So, where do you start with folks who have a job open and want people to fill that job, or do you start with people who say, "Hey, I would like to work in agriculture. Where are the opportunities?"
Yeah, it's kind of a chicken and an egg deal. You got to have the jobs open to be able to put somebody into it. But at the same time, some people aren't prepared for the job that they think they're wanting to get into. So I'll work with either at any moment. For me, it's more beneficial to take the job and then help them identify someone who is maybe agriculture adjacent, that maybe didn't grow up on a farm or from a rural background that wants to be on a farm. So a lot of times it's working with the company to help them better understand individuals that are qualified to their job that are stereotypical person they think of.
So your client then is going to be a company like John Deere or whoever it might be, an agricultural company, or necessarily somebody connected with that, and then the folks you will have identified some folks. They might have applied somewhere or another, and you know that they exist and can place them in that job.
Yeah, that's best way to think about it. Anything from, like, we're working with a fabrication company that builds different types of engine mounts, needing a lead fabricator and an entry-level welder. We're working with a golf course irrigation company that is called Illinois to Florida and out to the East Coast that needs individuals that want to learn about the automation on golf course irrigations. Then we've got anything from your basic diesel shop to your mom and pop farmer that's trying to find, a great farm hand that wants to grow with their business. So it's anything and everything. What I found is a lot of people don't realize the great opportunities in their area because they just don't know that their skills transition to some of these opportunities.
How do you get your name out then to companies that are looking for people?
A lot of it's word of mouth. The whole point of this was to offset my farm income, to be able to be able to work on the farm, be on the farm. And so I didn't go into it with the idea that I was trying to scale up, hire a bunch of people underneath me, and build a multinational business for headhunting. I didn't see myself as the next Corn Ferry by any stretch. It was just, how can I serve those that have served me? And that's kind of where word of mouth comes in. Here after COVID, I realized that there's a big change in the younger generation coming into the workforce, which spurred me to start in 2025. So last year, a nonprofit called Rural Workforce Development. And that's kind of helped get the name out more. We're essentially running 6 skilled trade camps that take a 18 to 26-year-old through a half day of different types of skilled trades, with the idea that they learn a task that you would do on that trade alongside a peer that is in that trade. And then if it's a good fit, we'll line them up with a 1-month paid internship so that they can see what hands-on that career path looks like. For example, we ran an equipment operators camp where we took 8 kids who had 0 experience running equipment, showed them how to run a 0-turn mower, back up a trailer, and by the end of it, they could run a skid steer and a mini excavator. And then we did a little church project for a church camp, pulled some bushes, did some mulching with those new skills that they learned.
Fabulous. that just opened up a whole bunch of doors, and we're going to go through those doors in just a moment. We'll be right back. Don't go away. We welcome you back to another issue of From the Farm, and Blake Noland is our guest today. Bird Dog Careers, that might provide an opportunity for either you to find a job that's related to agriculture, or for you to find an employee that could fill an opening that you have in an agricultural job. Now, a lot of those jobs may require some, well, let's say certification or licensing, CDL, for example. There may be quite a few others, even getting down to somebody who has to have to pass a spray application test. So, Blake, where does licensing and certification come in for the folks that you are serving, who are basically the ones who are looking for a person to fill an open job?
Yes, the beauty of a lot of these licensing and certifications are the companies are willing to work with you to get you where you need to be. Now, that being said, a CDL is a huge door opener for about anybody that wants to do anything in agriculture, or frankly in rural America. There's just a huge need for anything from Class B to Class A CDLs. There's also a lot of money that has been injected from the state side of things, where you can fill out a scholarship and get that whole cost waived if you have no experience, or you have, maybe coming out of high school and you're trying to figure out where to start. The CDL side of things is a huge help and a huge asset.
So people can go to either a commercial school, or there are some community colleges that are offering a CDL training as well.
Exactly. And a lot of companies. There's a lot of companies that have are set up to be able to get you ran through a CDL prep and then get you into a short form class to be able to get the CDL passed.
Are there other certifications that you've had come up in requirements for people that you are placing?
CDL is definitely number one. On the farm side, for the retail agriculture, whether that's a Growmark, Nutrien, Equity, or a mom and pop that is spreading and spraying on the fields, and the applicator's license is a really good one to get started. But frankly, outside the CDL, just experience around tools, being able to have proven work on different types of equipment is more important to a lot of employers than having either a certification or claiming that you went through a school. I think a lot of times the schooling just shows that you can sit in a seat for 2 years and answer the right question, but the actual experience shows you can actually do the work and repair it when it breaks.
And so welding may be one of those talents too that some people like. If they're going to get an on-farm job, why a welding experience could be important.
And I think that's a misconception a lot of people have around welding. They think that they've got a certification that they're every welder is the best welder there is. I, on the other hand, am a really good grinder, not the best of welding. For some jobs, even if you're a certified welder, you still got to come in and do a weld test and prove it. So,
any other certifications that you that you run into that some of your requirements are, or those are the
So it gets pretty specific to the industry. I would say if I was unsure of what I wanted to do in life and I was trying to figure out an area that would have a lot of opportunity, and I'm mechanically inclined, I would definitely push someone towards the A&P, so airframe and power plant, to work on airplanes. There's a huge need for that. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of mobility within it. Even here in our central Illinois area, there's a huge need for it. There's a major refurbishing MRO in Springfield. There's the need even at the local fixed based operation at the airport. So that skill set also translates to so many other industries. So it's just a matter of really figuring out where you want to start get some experience, and then really the world's yours to figure out where you want to go from there.
We in getting employees, pardon me. Some employers are looking for folks who have skills, licenses, experience. Some employers are looking for folks who have a good attitude and are willing to do anything. Where does that kind of transfer into what you are doing?
I personally would rather have someone with the right attitude, someone that wants to learn, somebody that wants to grow, that isn't coming in telling you immediately what they can and can't do. I think most employers are more concerned about someone that can show up on time and pass a drug test, frankly. You can build from there. And I do a lot of conversations, just fact finders with companies, and the amount of people that are leaning more towards on farm with H-2As, which would be like your migrant labor visas, mainly because they know that individual is there to work and they're not going to call in sick on Fridays, call in sick on Mondays. So it's just the ability to consistently show up and have a good attitude is worth twice that of a skill set.
That's what I figured you would say. So I know, and that's a lot of folks are employers that are trying to find just somebody who's going to have a good attitude and ready to work. For those, we have talked about putting people in industries. How about just the basic farm? You've got a farm that may be a little bit larger than average, and you need somebody who can drive a tractor, drive a truck, and be a hired hand. And how many of those farms out there have you been helping and working with?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. I'm fairly picky about which farms we'll bring on, mainly because everybody's really good at explaining what they're going to provide the employer or employee. And a lot of times there's those that operate it as if they're hiring their son. And I can tell you, as a family member on a family farm, you tend to treat that individual a little different than you treat your employee. So there's a lot of questions that I kind of run through. And then a lot of times I'll just hand a farm the instruction manual on how to go about finding someone, because they're really looking for a stepson, not an employee, or a stepdaughter for that matter. But we're picking up usually, I don't know, maybe five to seven family farms per season. So typically we're not trying to add on a farm, 3 days before planting or the week before harvest. This time of year is when we're looking for the farm hands to go into a new season. And then through summer, the ongoing joke is I probably run about $1,000 to $2,000 of ads through the summer each month for seasonal truck drivers. And what I find is a lot of the smaller farms are looking for seasonal truck drivers, but can't understand why they would pay someone to help them find a truck driver. But they wouldn't at all do any custom harvesting for free. So it's a unique balance when you're working with certain generations on farm.
That I can certainly see that. That's not a surprise, but because cost is something that goes two ways. We are talking to Blake Nolan of Bird Dog Careers, and we've got a lot more to talk about. So continue on with us. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and Blake Nolan of Bird Dog Careers is our guest today on this edition of From the Farm. And Blake, you've got some opportunities that could be coming up for some high school students, and that may pick the interest of not only some parents, but some youngsters who may be in a lot of FFA programs and VOAG at high school. Tell us a little bit about the camps that you're going to be having this summer.
Yes, Stu, the challenge that we've noticed in the last couple of years, moving the shop class from the high school and then consolidating a lot of these vocational programs into a county-wide one location created a little bit of a challenge for the non-college bound student. So if you have a 18-year-old graduating from high school, decides to go to a community college or a university, they get 3 years to try out different industries through internships over the summer. But if you're 18-year-olds graduating from high school that is not college bound, you're kind of forced to go directly into a career, whether you know if you like it or not. And if you change in that same 3-year time frame to 2 or 3 different jobs, everyone labels you a job hopper. So we're trying to figure out how do you fix that or provide an opportunity for that non-college bound kid to be able to get a condensed opportunity to look at careers in their area. So we created this nonprofit called Rural Workforce Development. We're going to host 6 different camps, one for each trade. So we did an equipment operators camp, showing them how to run the equipment. We did a horsepower camp, which showed them how to take apart engines and the different opportunities that all center around turning wrenches. And then we'll plan on doing a electrical. We learn how to wire up a switch, a light, and run it back to a breaker box. We'll do a plumber's camp, showing you how to hook up a drain and then run it to a fake hot water heater. And then we'll show you how to frame up a door and a window. And then finally, how to run a HVAC duct to an air controller to a thermostat. So fairly basic task, but what we've learned is if mom or dad are not mechanically inclined and you're not wanting to go to college, there's a handful of options. They're all a little bit different, but if you haven't tried it, you don't really know where you want to start. So the goal is here around March, April, May, we'll start rolling out a camp half days on a Saturday. You'll work with an industry individual that's hopefully under 30. So someone that you can kind of identify with that's in their first couple of years in the trade. If it's a fit and you enjoy it, we're looking for companies that would pair up and hire them for a 1-month paid internship post graduation. So then they can see, is this really a career they can see themselves doing? Actually get hands-on.
Now, that's fascinating. Where, when, how does one sign up?
So we're kind of hammering down all the logistics. We ran through 2 trial camps in 2025. We're looking for places that we can host it, sponsors that want to sponsor it. As you can imagine, there's a little bit of a cost with putting all this together. We're self-funded and then had some support from different industries on the first 2 camps. So we're looking for individuals that are in these trades or foundations that want to support getting kind of that safety net of where do you take somebody after high school if they don't want to go to college. So I'd say here in February, we'll be putting all the funding together, putting together logistics and locations. The hope would be in summer, we'll be taking kids through 1-month paid internships. Hopefully each month of the summer, June, July, August, will be a different internship for each kid. And if it's a great fit when they're done, then they can either go into a full-time job or maybe enroll into a local community college to learn more about that skill.
Do you anticipate these being somewhere in central Illinois or somewhere else?
Yeah, so the goal is to kind of serve call it 6-county radius around Macon County. So all counties touching Macon County would be our initial launch of this, mainly because for the equipment operators camp, it was a lot of the equipment off our farm. So as you can imagine, moving our resources on the farm, keeping it logistically close is helpful. Now, if someone wanted to step up and allow some young individuals to learn their trade, I would happily move this a little closer to wherever their opportunity's at. But whenever you're the logistics, you do it whatever makes it simplest on you.
Otherwise, look at the map and find booty.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where Blake and I live. That's will people be able to find these? Where do they find out about the details and get and really get involved. I'm sure you have an address, a website. Tell us how people get hold of you.
Yeah, so we have a website that shows the last 2 camps. There's also an opportunity to fill out a form if you want to connect either on the business or the participant side. The web address would be rural, RURALWD.com. So rural workforce development, ruralwd.com.
And so at that point, all the details will be there.
Yep. So as you can imagine, we're kind of building this ship as we're flying it, and we're floating it.
We appreciate Blake Noland being with us today, and we hope we have piqued your interest in either using this opportunity to find an employee or find a job. Got some great opportunities, at least for solving some of those problems in agriculture related to labor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Stu.
From WCIA 3 Plus, with your host, Stu Ellis. This is From the Farm.
And we welcome you to another show today. We appreciate you stopping by to visit with us. And we want to visit with Amanda Martin. Amanda is the head CEO of the Illinois Ag Leadership Program, something that's very important to the state of Illinois and very important to the future of agriculture. Not only in Illinois, but it generates leaders who've turned out across the U.S. And Amanda, we appreciate you being up bright and early with us this morning. And you are, the latest of, I think, 5 CEOs for the Ag Leadership Program. And you're coming into this, and everybody, the program was looking forward to your arrival. But give us a little bit about your background before we get into the organization.
Yeah, thanks, Stu. Well, one, thank you just for having me this morning. And so it's an honor and a privilege to be talking with you and also serving in this role. We talk about those alumni who make a difference. You're one of them, right? And so we think about those leaders across our industries that continue that legacy today. But I came back home. I think it's kind of how I tell the story. And so I grew up in Southern Illinois, went to SIU Carbondale. I was in agribusiness economics and finished my bachelor's and master's there, and had worked across various parts of the industry. I had worked with Mash-Offs on the swine production side and did a summer with them. I worked with Syngenta as well. I did crop scouting, a mix of everything, and was just figuring out what exactly it was that I wanted to do, how I wanted to utilize that background within agriculture and leadership. And I ended up down at Auburn University. And so I worked within poultry science. I consider myself a lifelong learner, which I think fits well with this role. But I wanted to learn something different. And I had an opportunity to work with students at Auburn, specifically within poultry. And it is one of 5 departments left in the entire United States that's focused on poultry science. And so that was important for me just in terms of filling that need within the industry, but also the support that they had. I had great scholarship dollars to work with to help recruit students and get them excited about all those opportunities. And so we stayed there for about 2.5 years. And my husband, also an SIU grad, finished his master's while he was at Auburn. We moved to North Carolina. I taught middle school science at a Title I school and had about 127 seventh graders that I spent time with, but I could bring ag in the classroom, and I loved it because we think about the core part of what we do within agriculture. It is people and science based. And so being able to teach those students that are from an urban area in the inner city where their food comes from and how we can incorporate that into science brought me joy every day. And so stayed there for a little bit and then ended up back down at Auburn, and then worked within our College of Agriculture at Auburn University within recruitment, alumni relations, and fundraising. specific to agriculture, started on my PhD, and then was recruited down to LSU. And so finished up my academic journey down at LSU, finished my PhD at LSU, and was assistant dean in the College of Agriculture. Again, focused on student engagement, student development, the recruitment piece, working with our alumni, fundraising, and just building up our funds to support the programs and opportunities. And so did a little bit of everything at LSU, from the international experiences for students through that core student leadership development piece, and then worked across our different ag industries in the South. And then we had been gone at that point for about 15 years and decided it was time to come back home to the Midwest. So we made that move, worked at American Egg Board, worked with Farm Foundation, and then found my way to my new home at ILF.
Well, the folks who are the leaders of the program certainly looked at your background, your vast experience in topics, the depth of what you had in teaching, and decided that you were the best to run the Illinois Agriculture Leadership Program, because it really is an educational-based program that is designed to turn people in agriculture into leaders, and that's what the program is all about.
It is, and I think that background has helped me in this transition. At the end of the day, that's what I love the most, is being able to build people up, help them expand their networks, and just really think about the skill sets that they have and how we can elevate those. And we see that. We see that in every fellow that comes and accepted into the program, whatever part they are at in their leadership journey. And so it is eye-opening, I think, for them, and a lot of the experiences that we provide. But I love to see the growth and learning through every single fellow. And you hear that. You hear those great stories from our alumni as well, just the life-changing experiences that they had in the program.
Program started back in 1982 with the very first class that was graduated 2 years later in 84. And just almost that there's been a new group of about 30 people every couple of years. And so you've turned out, the program has turned out 600-700 people over that period of time.
It is true. So over 650 alumni that we have across Illinois, across the United States, and across the world at this point. And I think that is one of the key pieces when you become a graduate, an alum of that program, and then we're able to further connect you within that network. It's a pride point almost there, but being able to go through that program, not only do I feel like our fellows, they have those opportunities to connect deeply with the cohort that they're in, but then you have this additional layer of that alumni network to be there to support you and reach out to. And so it's a neat way to see people within agriculture connect and have that common interest, share those stories of being in the program, but then be able to help each other as they continue on in their careers.
And people apply to be in the program, and they're selected to be that. What does the program look for the folks that it wants to accept and then turn into leaders? What are those things that they really look for, those characteristics?
Yeah. And so it's interesting when you look at our class. I think that's where the magic happens, is when we are able to really look at the group of candidates and be able to think about how we can put together a group that's going to learn from each other. As much as we bring in these speakers and these opportunities within our spaces for those seminars, we want to create a cohort that really has opportunities to learn from each other. And so we're intentional with that when we think about our candidates, not only in the recruitment process, but also as we go through the interviews. And we say becoming leaders, they're leaders in their own right already, I believe. We look at the people within the program and we want to see that they have that ambition, that fire, they want to give back. They're looking at taking their career or their leadership experiences to the next level, and how can we help them elevate that? And so we take a mix of backgrounds within it. I sometimes get the questions like, well, I may not have a strong ag background, or I didn't grow up on a farm. You don't have to be in our program, right? But you're working in agriculture, you're working in food, you have a passion for understanding the policy impacts that happen across decisions that are made and how that comes back to the farm gate. And so we want people that want to learn, that are open-minded, that want to be able to share their knowledge and have that ambition to grow and want to grow and soak everything in. We, of course, always want our farmer producers in the room too. And so that is a key area of our recruitment process, is reaching out to our farmers across the state, because we want their voices in the room. We want them to help elevate their voices, because they have to tell their own story. It's very important. And we help them do that. We help them craft that story so they feel confident in reaching out and advocating for the work that they're doing for the world. And so I love being able to think about the recruitment process and how we put together these classes. But again, we take people from all walks of life in here, all different leadership levels, but they have to have that common passion for making a difference across food and agriculture.
Now, this is all done by those people attending a series of seminars throughout the year. And I think you skip a couple of them so farmers can get into the field to plant in the spring and harvest in the fall. But otherwise, there's a fairly busy schedule for those monthly seminars that are not just a couple hours long, they're a couple days long.
That's right. You're in school for the day, right? Extended school day too with us. But we're intentional with how we spend that time with our fellows. And so it's scheduled out in a way that, one, when they're coming into the program, we do a pre-assessment. And the reason why is because we're always going to make our curriculum nimble and current to what is going on in today's world. Part of that, as we get that class started with us, we want to look at what is their skill set and what are their interest areas. And then that helps us craft and further craft the curriculum and the speakers that will be coming in. And so we think about the time commitment. As a leader, you have to make hard choices. You have to think about where you're spending your time. And as you are on that leadership growth journey, this is an important part of that. We even talk about time management within our program and think about how you balance that between both personal and professional life, and not stress yourself out as a leader, not experience burnout. And so there's as much personal development, I think, as there is leadership development, and then thinking about those core issues across agriculture for our program. But it's worth the time commitment. It truly is. And I think people see that. They see the schedule, see how intensive it is. And then as they go through, and especially when they graduate, they know it was time well spent.
Now, could you give us a sample of the curriculum over time? What topics are presented, and how does that really relate to building a leader?
Yeah, and so when I came in, we did some curriculum mapping. We looked across the program and we thought about what is it that our leaders within Illinois agriculture, what do they need? What is the skill set that they need? What are they going to need in the next 5 to 10 years as they continue their leadership journey? And so it is a mix of topics. We could be really, honestly, Stu, like I could keep them for 3 years. We still couldn't get through everything that we needed to get through, but this is at least a starting point to get them excited and inspired within their journey. But we focus around 5 core areas as we develop these leaders, anything from strategic systems thinking, communication influence, the civic and global engagement pieces of what we do, food systems, sustainability, and then relationship building and collaboration. Because as a leader, you're leading people, and you need to understand that. You need to be self-aware and focus within that. And then we have different themes. We're very blessed and thankful that we have some endowed seminars. And so we have people that have been friends of the program, alum of the program, that have felt inclined to endow some of our seminar experiences. And so those are named. And so those overarching topics range anything from communication excellence. We focus on how to be a better communicator. How does that play into your leadership role, through ag policy, through AI and technology? How is that changing what we do within agriculture every single day, every part of our life? We look at global challenges. We look at the whole health and resilient leadership pieces. And so also just taking care of yourself, taking care of your mental health as a leader and those around you. And then the economics and marketplace. And so it is a broad mix. There is something for everyone within our program. And then we have those key signature parts of spending a week in DC and then the 2-week international seminar.
We'll talk about those in detail when we come back. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Amanda Martin and a discussion of the Illinois Agriculture Leadership Program. We welcome you back to our discussion about the Illinois Agriculture Leadership Program, and something that's been around since the early 1980s and has achieved a lot. But a lot of the firepower that goes into the program has been generated by some leaders themselves in the industry. And Amanda, you have a board of directors that has a lot of fuel in their tank.
We do. I have an amazing board of directors. We couldn't have the program that we have today without that leadership, and I truly mean that. And you think about some of these people that are here, some are graduates of the program, and they felt inclined to stay involved and come back because they believed in the future of this program and wanted to be a part of that. And then some are those key players across agriculture and have those connections. And again, they believe in the mission of what we are doing. I'll talk a little bit about my board chair, Dan Kelly, which is a well-known name across Illinois agriculture for his leadership, but he is a gem, and we're very, very thankful to have Dan at the helm and helping lead the organization forward into our next journey.
And you've got, who else is on your board? Because some of the folks who are watching today may very well know some of them, but not be aware that they are a participant in one of the leaders in this.
Yeah, and so we actually, in terms of our emeritus board, I'll touch on that a little bit too. Orion Samuelson, who is instrumental in getting the program up and running and worked closely with Joyce Watson. And so they are still listed on our emeritus board. Joyce, I just talked to her yesterday, and so still a huge influence on what we do and a sounding board as we think about the future and building the program. We have Ed Cooper that's serving as our vice chair, Enid Schliff as well. And so we think about that farmer voice, a key farmer voice for us to have involved and elevated in the work that we're doing. Heather Thompson with Growmark, also part of our EC. Luke McKelvey, who works with McDonald's, as a part of our board, and Tammy Craig Schilling, as well as doing work across digital agriculture. And so again, people that are well known across the industry and what we're doing, but there isn't anybody more that I would want to have involved there, and being able to share that knowledge and passion with our group. And I could go on and list everyone if you'd like to. Colleen Callahan was a new addition of the board as I was coming on too, and we were able to work with her on doing a communications seminar, which was phenomenal, and our fellows. And so who better could we have, involved within programs like that when you have these leaders not only serving within a board capacity, but also teaching within the classroom. And then Dr. Easter is another member of our board. So Bob Easter, former president of the U of I, but I have Bob on speed dial, and that's a big deal for me to be able to reach out and bounce ideas off of. I'm still a little bit starstruck, I tell him whenever I talk to him every day, because I just have such great respect for him. And then we always keep an alumni seat on there, and I think that's important to highlight too. And so we have a recent class member that has that seat on the board so they can share their experiences, and that right now is Heather Dollinger. Gary Bays is still involved with our board, and so he has been a key contact, especially as we plan not only international seminars but also our DC time. Nick Block, another member from John Deere, a great contact for us to have, but also in terms of just helping and thinking about our curriculum. And then Kim Morton has been a longtime supporter of the program. She has a named seminar. She is in it and always there to help us, involved in multiple committees and committed to our fellows. Doug Wabel as well is on there, was a newer board member. And then Bradley Walter is one of our newest board members. And Dr. Walter and I just visited yesterday too. And so another person I have great admiration and respect for, and I think who's going to help take our curriculum to the next level as we continue to build.
Well, there are some names that a lot of people will know, and there's a lot of names of graduates that people will know, and we'll get to maybe some of those right after this. Don't go away. Illinois Ag Leadership Program is our topic today. Amanda Martin, the CEO of the Illinois Agriculture Leadership Foundation, is our guest. And Amanda, we've talked about a lot of your leaders that are helping, craft the program and provide you some guidance on what should be there. But there's also a lot of dependence upon funding of this program because there is some cost to this. So I know you go out and you don't beg for money, but you ask for investments. And the people in the program, they invest in the program as well.
That is true. Yes, we ask for partnerships. We'll say there's only a little bit of begging that is included in that. But I don't feel like I have to because people see the value of this program, the impact that we can have across the great state of Illinois. And so we look for those company partnerships in different ways. What does that look like? That may be in-kind giving, that may be hosting the fellows, that may be a monetary donation to help drive down the cost, because at the end of the day, we want this program accessible to all of our leaders across agriculture. And so there is that tuition fee that's included for our fellows. And so they only pay, honestly, Stu, it's about 20%, 25% of the total cost of what we invest in these fellows and their experience. And so outside of that, then everything else is raised by those donations, those key partnerships that we have. And then we were very lucky at the beginning of this organization being formed. Joyce and the board at the time did a lot of work to set up an endowment. And so we do have that endowment that helps fund some of our programming and then some of our named seminars, again, because of that commitment to the program, where they wanted to invest in what the fellows were learning. We have those named seminars and that continued investment there. But we are always open and talking about those new partnership opportunities because we want our fellows to be well connected, to expand their network. And it's essential for us to do this work, to have those financial contributions to keep that tuition rate low for our fellows to participate.
One of the costs is helping people or taking people to in the program to Washington and letting them see what's inside USDA and what's inside Congress, what's inside other executive branches, and that takes a little bit of money to provide that for several days.
It sure does. We spend a week in DC, but it's key. It's essential to the program. It's essential to that experience. We are taking our fellows out. They are visiting with their legislators. And so it's extremely important for them to be able to practice and have that opportunity to advocate for what we're doing, not only within this program and the importance of the program, but also what decisions are impacting what's going on at home, what's going on at the farms, what's going on within our agriculture businesses. And so they do a little bit of work, I'd say, while they're there. But then the other pieces of that is key networking with our alumni that are in the area, exposing them to different companies and corporations that are there, as well as those key groups and policy advocates across DC, so they can, again, build their network. The other neat part I'll highlight, and one of the pieces we're doing now, they're going to have a Gettysburg leadership experience. And so there's a specific curriculum that goes along with that. And we were able to secure that. Some support from Rod Stoll as well helped with that, with Farm Credit Illinois, of us being able to provide that experience to the fellows. And so again, that personal leadership component really strongly ties in there. And then we get to do some behind the scenes pieces. We want to be able to take them to places they typically wouldn't be able to go, meetings they wouldn't be able to have on their own. And so our group this year will also be going to the Pentagon, and we're having a briefing that focuses on food security as national security, as well as we think about logistics, global logistics within our food supply.
And when you talk about international things, there's also an international trip for a few days that it goes to you go to a different location of the world every year. And sometimes they're friendly, sometimes they're not so friendly.
Yes. I have heard the stories, Stu, of these international experiences. But again, it's just amazing to see the growth from the fellows. Some of our fellows have not traveled extensively internationally before. And so it's a learning experience just from that aspect. There's a cultural experience of being able to just open your eyes a little bit more and then bring those ideas, those thoughts back home too. And I think that's important. But we're always going to tie in that food and agriculture component. We're going to look at trade with these different places that we're going. We're going to think about how Illinois and the Midwest plays into that. When we think about agriculture and the impact that we have on what we're growing and what that does across that whole food value chain. I think some of the experiences for the international seminar, it's been interesting to see all the different places they go, and I'm blown away when we look at those itineraries that they have. It's intense. They are there for 10 to 14 days typically, is what that international experience looks like. And again, it's just a great way to get out of your comfort zone. We will actually be announcing next week where we'll be going with this class. And so that's exciting for them to be able to find out, and then we'll start to have our curriculum focus a little bit more on connecting those parallels between where we're going. And the other new exciting thing that's going on is we're going to have an alumni international experience. And so that will happen this July, and that will be announced later next week as well. And so we'll share more information about how our alumni can plug in and travel with us if they would like to go on this international seminar experience.
Now, for people who might like to be part of the program or be considered for part of the program, what's the application process?
Yeah, so we have an online application process. It's actually open now. So we opened in January. We will close in early July. And so the application process just asks a little bit of background questions. We're going to have you have a resume or be able to share your leadership experiences as part of that application. The next step with that is for our committee to review. And so we have a committee of both alumni, of board members that review those applications. And then you're invited to an in-person interview after we review applications. That interview process, what we'll do, there's a couple different components that happen within that. We'll do an overview of the program as part of that interview process. And so you'll get to talk with alumni a little bit. You'll get to talk with our team, our board, on what it means to be a fellow within our program. There's a little bit of a group interview process too. And so we'll allow you to experience kind of some of the scenarios that we're going to put you in when you're in a seminar with us, and some of the group work that happens in those group discussions. And then you do an interview with a committee of about 4 to 5 people. And so we sit down and we ask you, the core pieces of why you want to be in this program. Why is it important for you now in your leadership journey to take part in this and commit to this program? And so I think it's a pretty not super intense, I think, for our participants, but we're here to help you prep too. So if there's questions, we'll have different Q&A sessions prior to going to these interviews. And it's definitely a manageable experience for you to go through that interview. And so we don't want anyone to be so uncomfortable that they worry about that interview process. That's not what it's about. You're interviewing us as much as we're interviewing you to be in that program, because we want to make sure it's a great fit for our candidates coming in.
And those candidates coming in may not realize it at the time, but they will be making lifelong friends.
They absolutely will. And that's some of my favorite stories from our program, are those lifelong friends and networks that they build.
We appreciate Amanda Martin, CEO of the Illinois Agriculture Leadership Program, being our guest today. And one last question, what is the address for somebody who wants to apply or find out more?
Absolutely. So agleadership.org.
Agleadership.org. That's pretty simple. Amanda, we wish you the best in embarking on your first full class. We certainly appreciate your time today. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Stu.